The following is a presentation of the Tragically Hip podcast series.
Okay, we are officially into uncharted waters. We never do third ones. So let's see what happens.
Your Hipstories, reflections from the final tour.
Hey, it's JD here, and I want to welcome you back to your Hipstories, reflections from the final tour. And that is, of course, the final tour from our faves, the Tragically Hip, the Man Machine Poem Tour. We are working eastward, homebound to Kingston, but we're not there yet. Nope. We're in the Rockies, and we are visiting Calgary this time. This is August 1st, 2016, and here we are 10 years later with three folks who were there live and in the flesh and are going to share their stories and experiences with us tonight. So I hope you're buckled in and ready to revel, because that's what we're about to fucking do. Spencer from Calgary, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
I am doing great. How are you today?
Good to hear. No, I'm great. I'm great as well. You got a round of golfing, you told me. It's nice.
Yeah, took the afternoon off, got on the links, got some golf in.
Beautiful.
Fantastic day. Cannot complain.
Beautiful. No way. Paul from Lethbridge, how about you? How's your day been?
It's getting a lot better now. It's better to talk the Tragically Hip than spend the day at work. So feeling a lot better now. Ready to get back into some memories.
Oh man, yeah, I can't wait. Oh, we're almost there, so I guess I can. Steve from Toronto, what's shaking, man?
Like Paul, my day has also got better by virtue of the fact that we're going to talk about the hip.
Yeah, I think, well, then let's not beat around the bush. Let's get straight to it, shall we? And we'll start with you, Steve. When did you first hear about the Man Machine Poem Tour, and was it like a lock you were going?
It was not a lock that I was going. When I remember actually thinking to myself, like, do I want to do this? Is this too heavy? And like when the announcement, I remember getting the email about Gord's cancer diagnosis, and I remember seeing, an important message from the Tragically Hip in my inbox and thinking, oh man, there's going to be a tour. This is going to be great. And then we all know what happened next. And honestly, when I first started to think about the tour, there were sort of two schools of thought. One was, I don't know if I sit this one out? And the other one was, do I try and hit as many shows as I can? And, but I don't know, man. I was nervous. I was definitely nervous at first. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm also a Hip fan, and all this was coming together. And it was pretty intense. And I did not know that I was going to be at this tour.
Wow.
Just getting it all off there right at the top.
Yeah. Well, first of all, glad you're with us, literally and
thanks, bud.
And medically. That's good to hear. And yeah, it was sort of a balloon pop, wasn't it, Paul? Like, I mean, that email was like, what a fucking downer.
Yeah, that was not what I was expecting. I remember, like, literally first thing in the morning, I was, kind of waking up, about to get into the shower, and was just kind of catching up on news. And I remember it hitting like a ton of bricks when you first read it. And it's sort of one of those, I remember saying at the time that, like, I've never had the chance to meet any members of the Hip or come particularly close. And yet at the same time, when stuff happens to celebrities, you feel some sort of like, with some, you feel like you know them a little bit, or like it hits close to this one. I actually felt, though, it's like I never knew Gord, didn't know the Hip in person or anyway, but it felt way more personal than most any other band. Like, just by virtue of what they mean to the country and mean to their fans and everything, it was like, shit, like if this is like happening to my friend Gord, which is a weird feeling to feel about someone that you've never known, but I think just says a lot about what they meant to everyone, what their music means, and the way that they hit people differently. And I know I wasn't the only one out of my friends that kind of said that. I was like, man, and it kind of came around the time when, there was kind of a rash of like Tom Petty died at one point, and Prince, and there was sort of these high profile celebrity deaths that all sort of got their notoriety, but it was the Gord one just sort of hit in a completely different way. And and I mean, that morning I would have never expected that I'd ever see him live again. But to hear that there was going to be one more, it was sort of like, pretty remarkable that it was even at that point.
Yeah, you have to say it was absolutely remarkable, because, I mean, one email is like, yeah, he's got terminal brain cancer, and the next email is, come on out and see us live. Spencer, what were you thinking the day you heard the news? And from there, how did you get tickets?
Yeah, just like Steve and Paul, I remember that first email that came through. I remember it was a Tuesday morning because it was after the May long weekend. So it was
after May long weekend.
Yeah, we all remember that email when it came in, and just a hard way to start a Tuesday morning after the long weekend, which is always a hard time to start normally. And just gutted with that news. It just, I'd seen them so many times. They were such a big part of my life. To read that, you just felt so bad for Gord himself. Like, what a terrible thing to have to go through. And then, flash forward the next email where he announces he's going on tour. Unbelievable. I can't even imagine being in that position. I don't know if I would make that decision to go out on tour and to expose myself to the world and show the hard parts of that struggle. I might just sit at home with family and enjoy the rest of my time. And the fact that he chose to go on a tour like that made me think, I mean, I'm there no matter what, but I'm doing everything I can to get tickets. I got to go to both shows in Calgary. What an amazing opportunity that you don't see bands go through the timeline that the Hip have gone through and have an ending like they did. Nobody's been through that kind of thing, so I definitely know I had to be there.
And what was it like when you decided to be there and that day rolled around, and you're basically playing slot machines, you're pulling that one-arm bandit, hoping to goodness that you get 3 candy canes or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's 5 now.
And the question was, how many tickets can you get? How many do you want to get? And then how many nights are you going to go to? And who can I bring? Because I knew I was going to be getting the tickets. I had a feeling none of my friends were going to be able to land some. And then from there, it's like the important decision of who am I taking to night 1? Who am I taking to night 2? Who deserves to go? Who's going to have the appreciation for this? All very important decisions when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Whoops, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, on our side, it was like, it's funny because at that time, like, I wasn't making a lot of money, and it had just been such a heavy concert year that I'd traveled to the States to go see Bruce Springsteen, traveled to the States to go see Pearl Jam, like, did some of these things that were kind of like bucket list items. Yeah. And then this one came along, and it was like, shit, like, I don't think I can justify affording it. Like, this is actually tough. And it was like, talked to one of my best friends, Nick, who I ended up going to the show with, and it was like, we were both like, we've seen the Hip a bunch of times. Maybe those are our memories. Those are the ones we'll keep. And then after, like, so tickets went on sale. We didn't even try to get them. And then probably a week or 2 after that, we were like, what have we done? This is like massive mistake. And so we just started watching prices on the secondary market, and we're like, well, now, like, we're in, and we're just going to try and cash in. And we, on the secondary market at some point, we're like, you know what, close enough. They were tickets behind the stage, so it brought the price down a little bit. But jumped at it. It was one of those things that we definitely would have regretted had we not done that.
Oh, that's so good that you turned around. I sat at the back of the stage too at the show I went to. And it was.
Yeah, I had a different ticket buying experience.
Let's hear
sorry.
It. No,
yeah, mine was. Well, and like Paul, it was a heavy concert year because I had also done Springsteen. I had also done Pearl Jam. I saw, I guess, 3 Pearl Jam shows a few weeks before the announcement came down. But I was also trying for Ontario tickets, and trying to getting Calgary tickets was a breeze compared to trying to get tickets to the Toronto shows and the Kingston show. And I ended up getting really lucky with Ticketmaster in Calgary 1. Like, I got really great seats for that show, but I had already been through the ringer that morning getting one of the Toronto shows, and I ultimately got a Kingston ticket as well.
Wow.
So Calgary felt like a break. It was like I just went in, bought tickets, and that was it. There was no drama. There were no crashes. Trying to get Kingston tickets was, as everyone has probably heard, was absolute chaos, and I got extraordinarily lucky with that. But Calgary felt almost normal. I just went in, got a pair, and got out, and we were done.
Oh, that's such a good experience. That's how it should be. Yeah.
Not many people had it. I got lucky.
I know a lot of people. I know 2 things really made the market squirrely that year on the secondary market. And the first one was one of the first times I remember. Well, probably no, it's probably much earlier than I'm about to say. But bots, you really started to hear about bots when it came to Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
And they were, siphoning tickets into the secondary market. And then when the CBC made their announcement that it was going to be broadcast nationally, commercial free, and I forget when they made that announcement, but my understanding is when they made that announcement, tickets went up like they doubled and tripled in price. Suddenly that show became like a must go to show, right?
And back to what Paul was saying about the ticket prices, I justified it with, I had planned on seeing this band into my 70s. Well, maybe not my 70s, but maybe into their 70s. And now all of a sudden you're telling me we might not get to see them much later than early 50s. So I just sort of accelerated that timeline into a very expensive personal period because I was also getting engaged at the time. But needs must.
I like that.
Spencer, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say 2 days before the Calgary 1 show, they were up in Edmonton. I think it was for night 2. And I remember having nothing to do that day. I woke up from a nap, I want to say, at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, trying to figure out with my girlfriend at the time what we were going to do for the night. And I thought, well, the Hipper in Edmonton, is there any way we could get like a resale ticket maybe and like go up there? And sure enough, I hopped on Ticketmaster and they had released a whole bunch of tickets behind the stage. And so we didn't have to go resale. Oh. They were available day of. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have to go. Grabbed the 2 tickets. We didn't even pack a bag. We hopped in the vehicle, drove straight up the highway, walked into the arena, grabbed a hot dog, a beer, sat down. And as we sat down, 30 seconds later, they walk on stage like perfect timing.
Oh, what a fucking great story.
Yeah.
And then we drove home that night because we didn't even have.
I was just going to say, did you drive home too?
Yeah, and what we did is we went on Setlist FM and got like the playlist of what they did that night, and we just programmed it into our phone and like re-listened to like the whole concert like through their regular songs. So that was like a spur of the moment trip, and as hard as tickets were to get, somehow I got them like 5 hours before showtime with no effort and at face value.
Jesus Christ! I wish I was with it during that time period. I just was not with it. I was in. I'll be frank. I was in a mental hospital. So for most of that year. So it was really fucking crazy, literally. And I hear all these great stories, and it's like, damn, I would have even went to Springer Market Square. Like I would have just done that, but I didn't. Hey, listen. Spencer, you were talking earlier about the selection process because you were the ticket master in this case. You gave us some criteria, but ultimately, the choice is going to come down to your gut probably. Who did you choose and Why did you choose that person?
First and foremost, you need music lovers, right? You're just not going to be bringing somebody who's not going to appreciate the music, the band, what's going on. For me, it was a really easy decision for the first night. It was my sister and my brother. Me and my sister have been connecting over the hip and going to hip shows for just a long time together. So she was an easy automatic. And then my brother, I don't believe we'd been to a show together. And so the fact that three of us were able to come together, it's the only concert we've ever been to together. I'd like to go to another one together. I don't know if it would happen because our music isn't fully lined up. And what a perfect night just to go with my brother and my sister to the concert and have an amazing night. So that was definitely night
that's
one.
pretty special. Yeah. How about you, Paul?
It ended up, I think it was sort of for all the thought and care that Spencer put into his, mine was just sort of like my buddy Nick is my concert friend. There's actually three of us, our buddy Mike too, and I'm like trying to rack my brain. I don't know why Mike ended up not coming with us that night, but it was those are sort of my go-tos when we're talking concerts, especially on the rock side, the rock concerts. Those are my guys. So when it came down to it, it was just really
the first night of the new Rogers hockey package. The Hip played a free show in downtown Toronto. So she had been to that show, but she'd never been to a real proper Hip concert, and that was a really interesting time for us. So some background, I had lived in Calgary for a very long time. We had met through work when I was living there, and I had just moved back to Toronto to be closer to her and to my family. My family's here too. But this was our first proper trip back out west since I had left. So it was always going to be her. And then serendipitously got to the show, and two of my best concert friends and two people that I followed Pearl Jam with over the years were in the seats directly in front of us. So of all the seats in the dome, they were literally the two right in front of us. And I'll come back to them later on. But that was my wife's first real Hip show, and then she was at one of the Toronto shows with me as well. I didn't have to go through a pecking order for that one in particular because we just wanted her to get one, and we ended up getting two in the end.
That's nice. Yeah. And what did she think?
Well, and she had been a Hip fan for ages and had just never seen them. Same with Pearl Jam. She had just seen her first Pearl Jam show a couple months earlier, and it was something like, it was like my 41st Pearl Jam show and her first. Wow. And we posted a picture on Facebook with the caption, like, between us, we've seen Pearl Jam 42 times. And it was a big number of Hip shows for me too. It wasn't quite 41, but it was a big number. But, just broadly speaking, and Spencer and Paul, you'll probably agree with this, Calgary one was a hell of a show. And for that to be her first real Tragically Hip concert, she's really spoiled. She's really spoiled for that being the first one. It was an incredible night. And when you add in all the context for us, but more broadly for the band, what a way to start, eh?
Oh,
couldn't ask for much better.
Let's take a look at the set list from that night.
There's the set list.
I mean, kicking off a show with Three Pistols and Twist My Arm, but then going way down with Fiddler's Green. Wow. But then you come right back up with Little Bones and In a World. Yeah, it's so fascinating talking to people who were able to decipher the set list like very early on. Like at the second show, they were like, tomorrow's going to be Fully Completely. It's going to kick off with Fully Completely. And it's like, wow.
I was one of those people that was following every show and looking at every set list because I was curious what they were going to play, how they were going to play it, what the rhyme to reason was for each one.
Right.
For them to kick off on the Road Apples album, as they seem to be doing, chapters every night. There was like 7 different albums that they'd do. They'd pick 3-4 songs from each one. Road Apples, what a great album to kick off. And to get a chance to hear Fiddler's Green being sung, right. That's a special one. That's my sister's favorite song. And that song obviously carries so much emotion. And Gord just hit us with it 3 songs in. that's a hard one.
Yeah, same
Paul,
thing, Spencer. We were sort of following that along, and you started to see that pattern emerge. I wasn't like good enough to decipher the pattern of what albums we would get, but seeing that it was like these little groupings of songs, and it was like, okay, so they're gonna open with one album, then you're gonna get the new stuff, and then yeah, those sort of those groupings on the way down. So it was like that dominated our pre-show talk. Was like, which albums do you think you're gonna hear? Which ones do you want to hear?
Yeah.
What do you like? How deep do you want them to go? How much do you want to hear the hits again? So, and then it sort of led to that, like you could tell, like you sort of knew where, like they kicked off with Three Pistols, and then you're like, Road Apples. It's awesome. Like able to immediately identify what album you're going to, and then you get through these little 4-song sets, and it's like, okay, something new's coming, and those moments. Later when it's like So Hard Done By kicks in, you're like, oh man, awesome. We get Day for Night tonight. So, yeah, just a bunch of those moments throughout the entire show. Yeah, I wasn't able to pick out the patterns well enough, which I'm probably happy about. Like, I'm glad I didn't know which albums were coming, but those little Easter eggs to know that that's sort of how the set list was building was cool to follow along with. And then, yeah, it gave us lots to talk about as we were having beers before the show.
I don't know if there was a...
Yeah, I did the opposite. I did the opposite of what you boys did because I've been camping for the week prior, so I had no idea what had been happening. I actually hadn't seen any of the set lists other than Victoria. And after Victoria, I thought, okay, I'm going to just go into blackout for the next little bit. So I had no clue about the structure beyond broadly that they were doing the mini sets for each album. I had no idea what had come the night before. I did not do what Spencer did and make the audible to drive up to Edmonton, although I probably could have, and maybe I should have. So everything was a pleasant shock. And Three Pistols as an opener was just not on my radar whatsoever. It was so bizarre. We entered the seating bowl just as the lights were coming down, and it was probably the last song I could have reasonably expected to have opened. And it took me a minute to get used to the idea of Three Pistols as an opener, but yeah, I had no clue what was going to happen after that. It was nice. It was really nice.
Could you imagine what the betting line would have been for Three Pistols to be the opener? You would have made.
Yeah, we needed Polymarket.
Predicted that.
Yeah. Now the
Polymarket in 2016.
The obscure record that you guys got, because every night they gave us one record. I say obscure, but really a more recent record. Hasn't been played as much. You guys got World Container. What were your thoughts on the songs that you got from that and that selection? Did you feel good about it? All the rest of it, Spencer?
In View is one of my favorite songs from that album. I know they played that night. And of course they played World Container. I definitely remember that as well. I think that's a great album. I was hoping to hear it. Really, I just wanted variety to hear as many songs as I could possibly hear. And as that one being a little bit more of a rare one, it felt pretty good hearing some stuff that we might not hear or see again, especially at the final show. Maybe not one that they might play.
Yeah, like The Kids Don't Get It is a great song, and I bet you it sounded great live. But I would have never guessed in a zillion years that they would have played it on their final tour. Not in a zillion years.
Yeah, I took it as a sign that I was supposed to be at that show, because that is, I've always been a huge Hip fan, but like, growing up in the 90s, it was like Fully Completely and Day for Night, or like where it peaked, and then I think like a fair number of fans, like I fell out of the like. Actually, maybe not a fair amount, because I'm actually one of the few who kind of fell out at Trouble at the Hen House. Like it's really not one of my favorite albums, and just where I was at musically at that time, it wasn't really what I was into. And followed the band through the years and like picked up singles and still picked up albums, still loved the band. But it was when World Container came out, for whatever reason, it was the first album in a long time where I was like, I'm like getting this as soon as it comes out. I loved it. And then the song World Container is like easily one of my top 5 favorite Hip songs of all time. So to hear that one that night, and it was that's actually the moment of the whole show that sticks out the most for me. Like I mentioned, I was behind the stage, so I could really see like the way that Gord was using the teleprompter throughout the night. And that's just such a difficult lyrical song. Like it gets so fast. And, you know, seeing it on Setlist FM, it was the first time since 2009 they'd played it. So it's not like some song that's drilled into his head can kind of go into autopilot. I'm sure he had to relearn it and get to know it. And he actually ended up fumbling over the words kind of when it gets, and he kind of gave this like turn to the band and kind of gave like a little like shrug and a smile. And it was just one of those like great but heartbreaking but magical moments that you see where you're kind of like, man, like this guy, a moment where you're like, holy shit, it is like so incredible what he's doing, but sort of like put it back in that moment of like, right, like this is a guy who is like fighting brain cancer as we speak and is still gutting it out. So like that one, like getting to hear that song, getting to see it performed, the only time I would have ever seen it performed, I think I saw the World Container Tour, so maybe he played it there, I don't specifically remember, but yeah, to see that one and to see it in that context was just kind of like that sort of made the whole show for me anyway.
Oh wow. So do we have consensus here, Steve?
I love that album. Absolutely love that album. And I love the song World Container. Yeah, we have consensus. And I mean, my memories from that album, it came out during my first real job after university. And I was on the road a lot. When that album came out, I was driving around Northern Ontario and I just had World Container on a loop. And I was also sort of my peak sort of youthful financial indiscretion around that time and saw the tour quite a few times. So I had heard those songs live before, so revisiting them was wonderful. I love that. It's still one of the Hip albums I come back to more than most. I know it has a bit of an uneven reputation in the fan community. I love it. I'm so happy to hear those songs one more time. And then for them to transition into Day for Night, chef's kiss. Absolutely perfect. Going from one album into the next. Because Day for Night is my favorite Hip album. And, you know, just with the set list up in the background here, one of my enduring memories from that show was the transition from You're Not the Ocean to So Hard Done By, because I had actually never heard So Hard Done By in concert before. So that was where the show really just peaked for me, was right there with those two mini sets.
Oh God, yeah. That's great that you guys all have such a good connection with that record, that World Container record. Let's talk a little bit about the vibe. A lot of you have said that, you know, Spencer, you basically sat down and the show started in Edmonton, and now Steve basically very similar. The lights are going down as he's sitting down. Did you guys get any time outside the venue, or was it fun? Was it jubilant? Was it celebratory? What was it? Describe it, because I have no memories of that.
It was packed. The Saddledome was packed, and of all the times I've been there, I've never had the experience of being in the concourse and not being able to move. The reason that we were so late getting into the seating bowl is because you couldn't move in the concourse, whether it was people, everyone showing up right around the same time, buying beer, buying merch. And I mean, for those who've listened who've never been to the Dome, God bless the Saddledome. I will miss it when it's gone. But when it doesn't work, it really doesn't work. And that was a really that was a really, really packed night in that concourse. And that is actually one of my memories of that show, was almost being pushed into the aisle, into the, you know, sort of onto the floor, lights going out, and seeing Gord in his silver suit walking onto the stage.
Oh man. Did you guys have a similar experience inside, Spencer?
I remember seeing the most amount of merch I've ever seen for a band. It was like, if anybody had been to a concert and picked up any form of merch in the past 20, 30 years before that, they were wearing it that night, or they were in line to get some. I still have the shirt I was wearing that night. I retired it. I don't wear it out, but it's good to still keep it around. And the vibe was definitely a weird vibe, because you know that it's a lot of people's last time potentially seeing the Hip, but it hasn't happened yet. So you still have the excitement of, let's go have this amazing experience. But then in the back of your mind, you're also like, well, how's Gord going to do tonight? Is he okay? How's he going to do with the lyrics? How's he going to do with the endurance of singing for us so long? I hope he's going, he's going to be okay. You always had that in the back of your mind as well. So it wasn't just pure jubilation all the way through. It also wasn't a concert where you wanted to like go and drink a million beers, because you did not want to be standing in the line for the washroom at the Saddledome and missing 40 minutes of the concert. So it was everything focused on the Hip. That was about it.
Similar experience, Paul?
Yeah, I feel like just to build on things that both Steve and Spencer said, I had very, very similar feelings. I'm glad you picked up on the merch, Spencer. That was something that it's funny because my buddy Nick, who I went to the show with, is one of those kind of adamant assholes who's like, you don't wear a band's merch to their show, which him and I have differing opinions on, but it's one of the tenets that he lives by. But that was something that show in particular was sort of like, it gave sort of like a family reunion kind of feel or something. Like everybody had their different Hip shirts from their different tours and when they saw them, and you could kind of like pick out, and it's like, yeah, old shirts and people wearing like brand new ones from the more recent tours. And so it was really cool to see. That was also something that like 100% stuck out to me, was that feel about it. And then, yeah, it was like a lot more communal. Like at least in the section I was sitting in, a lot of times you go and you don't really talk to anyone around you. But it seemed like that show in particular, there was more people around us that were like, a lot of, the standard opening question, a lot of like, how many times have you seen them? Where did you last? What's your favorite Hip show? Sort of seemed like everyone wanted to share that stuff and kind of talk more than I've traditionally seen at a concert before. We got there a bit earlier.
Cool.
Which I'm glad we did, hearing these stories now, because we kind of, I think we probably like got there kind of right when doors opened, stood in line for merch, got beers, and we were in our seats probably 15 or 20 minutes before the show started. So had some time to chat with others. And that was like, yeah, the other big takeaway was that it was just like everyone felt like they knew what they were there for and that they were seeing something special and understood like the gravity of it. And you're right, Spencer. I sort of forgot about that, but like the uncertainty that there was going into the tour and then even to the shows of like, there's no guarantee that he doesn't do one show and is like, actually, this was a mistake, I can't do this, or two shows, or at any point you sort of had that feeling that like, until you see him on stage, you don't entirely know that it's going to happen. So yeah, I forgot about that, but definitely had those same feelings going into it.
I was willfully ignorant of how things were with Gord until I think Long Time Running came out. And I don't think I appreciated until watching that how ridiculous it is that the tour happened at all. And the comments that the band members have made over the years about how, had anything happened at any point during the show, that was it. They were putting down guitars and walking off stage, and that was going to be that. And the more we learn about it, the more this tour was an absolute miracle. And to both of your points, there was that tension with not knowing what you were going to see and being really terrified that you were going to see something bad. And then as it became clear during the shows and the tour that Gord seemed to be getting stronger, it's just incredible to think about what that tour, the fact that they pulled it off, and not that they pulled it off, that they crushed it. It wasn't just a good tour. It was spectacular.
Yeah, and the sheer number of songs that they learned. That's the other thing I took away from the documentary. Like, there's like bands in their prime who can do no wrong would not undertake trying to do what they did. That's just like a ridiculous premise to try to learn all those songs and play them again after all those years, which same thing. It was the documentary where I was like, oh man, I did not realize how much of a tightrope act this whole thing was.
Yeah, I think it was close to 80 songs they took on the road. Close to. Maybe it was closer to 70, but My understanding is it was close to 80, which is, like you said, just a staggering number. What did you guys think of the show from Spencer? We'll start with you. What did you think of the show from the way they broke it down? The first, what was it, 7 or 8 songs, the 4 from Road Apples and then the 4 from Man Machine Poem. They were sort of in a tighter circle, like much closer together. And then when they come back after the interlude, it's like, okay, now it's the fucking rock show. Not that it wasn't a rock show when they're playing Twist My Arm and Three Pistols right off the top, but you get what I'm saying. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, even that interlude, you guys remember the thunder and lightning throughout the arena that was going through, that was kind of standard on the tour. What a great way to kind of just set the mood. They took a little break and came back and played some good old rock hits. When they got into Day for Night and Phantom Power, oh man, those albums hit so good. We'll probably talk more about it, but the Grace 2 at every show on the tour was a special one. In Calgary, still gives me chills just thinking about it, talking about it. But even that run of songs, So Hard Done By, Grace 2, Yawning or Snarling, Daredevil, and then going over into Something's On, Escape His Hand, Poet, Bob Cajun. Wow, that's a string of just killer songs.
Yeah.
Even at that next encore, not to jump too far ahead, is my favorite. Gift Shop Flamenco, Ahead by a Century. Even that run of those 3 consecutive albums that they did and the songs that they picked are just banger after banger, just exactly what I wanted to hear that night. Good moody music that really gets you connected to the band. Just a fantastic choice of songs.
Agreed. Yeah, hard agree. Paul?
Yeah, it was such a like at every turn. They just felt so. That's looking at that list now, Spencer, and seeing that the 4 songs from Phantom Power alone that they've piled up is wild. It's actually funny. I had a friend that went to the show, and it was her first ever Hip show, and she sort of went to it with the idea that she's like, I've never seen them, I like them, but what a time to go see them. And she didn't love the show, which is funny. She's like, they didn't play anything from Fully Completely. Like, they didn't play any of the I'd expect to go to a Hip show and hear Courage. And it's like, for those of us that are Hip fans and we're following along, it's like, well, that's not what this was about. And I think that it sort of gave me that idea that it was like, this wasn't a tour for kind of the casuals. Like, if you were a diehard Hip fan who had never got around to seeing them, then you could probably appreciate this. But the way the tour was structured was probably made for those who have done deep dives into the catalog, who know more songs than they don't know, who can appreciate that you're not going to hear every song you want to hear, but you're also going to hear some songs that you didn't ever get to hear on other shows that you went to see. So I think that, excuse me, that was an interesting perspective that I took away from it. It actually just made me appreciate even more that we were in a position to be able to love this show and appreciate it and know that there's going to be so much left on the table, but what they put on the table or left off the table, I'm mixing my metaphors now, but whatever they brought to the table was just so good. And the way that they built this show is just like, I remember it just kept building and building and building. And right into the encore and then encore 2, it was like, just sort of after that interlude, it was just sort of, they didn't really let you breathe for the rest of the show.
I'm looking at it, and again, I'm shocked. Steve, I had a question for you specifically, and it's God damn it, it's left my mind. But was there any song that stood out for you or that you heard differently that night, Steve?
Bob Cajun.
Okay.
Bob Cajun. A song that I have heard performed many times. That version of Bob Cajun was stunning. It is one of the loudest crowds I could remember being a part of. And it was the set closer. And after it was done, the band left the stage and Gord lingered for a few minutes, and people went mad. And it was yeah. And I mean, you know, that night in Toronto maybe doesn't hit the same way outside of Toronto, but also, this is pure bias here, Calgary rock crowds are fantastic. And that Calgary rock crowd was on another planet. It was,
Wow.
yeah. I'm choking up thinking about that version of that song, and it's never, it was never a song where you would expect that sort of a reaction. You've heard it so many times, but it just hit that night so hard. And Ahead by a Century, same thing. Yeah, man, what a good night this was.
Any other stories in terms of from Spencer or Paul in terms of a song that maybe hit a little bit differently that night?
For me, flamenco as a choice in the encore is such a unique choice and not a song you would hear very often. I loved that choice, and what a blessing to be able to hear that song on the way out. Awesome choice there. But going back to Grace 2, I mean, the hymn here now screams at the end, where he's just letting out all of his emotion, all of his energy, just going crazy on that song. I mean, I will never, ever forget the way he sung Grace 2 on the final tour. And especially in the ones that I saw him with the Kensington, or the one on the final show, and the Calgary shows, he just would sing them so well and with so much emotion. It's wild.
How about you, Paul? Anyone stand out? Any one particular song? We've been talking a lot about the run, the run of songs and the structure of the set list. But sometimes you go to these things and things just sound different on a given night. Was there one for you?
I think that, there was a few that I've talked about already, and Spencer actually, Grace 2 was one that I very specifically remember, but the other one, and I mean, maybe it's because it was the last song, but Blow It High Dough is just, a song that I've lived with forever, is one of my very favorite songs. And then I think that the poignancy of the moment, it really hit me there, where it was like, this is the last song that I'm ever going to hear this band play live. And kind of like Steve said earlier, like a band that I assumed that I would see live many, many, many more times throughout my life. So to be like, man, this is the last time I'm going to hear Blow It High Dough. Like that song in particular, I just love it so much. And Gord was had given so much throughout that night. And then again, giving during that song, that it was sort of the combination of the moment and the song, where it was just like, if I had to pick like the last song that I hear the Hip play, it might be actually Blow It High Dough if I'm going to see it live. You can't get much better than that. So it was, that was a performance and a moment where I was, just sort of struck by it. And I can remember it vividly, like standing in the seats, watching where we were, and like I can sort of see those moments. And so that was the one that so to open with Three Pistols and to close with Blow It High Dough, like those are two of my, like, I'll listen to those songs as I'm getting ready to play hockey. Like those are songs that I'm just like
pump up songs.
Yeah, and the Boots Are Hard
are on every pump up list I've ever made.
Yeah, the Boots Are Hard is the second last song, was really interesting too. They're playing Ahead by a Century, and I'm thinking, okay, they only have a couple of songs left. Okay, they're probably going to go into Blow It High Dough, maybe some New Orleans is Sinking. Perfect two songs to end it. And then they play Boots Are Hearts, and I'm sure that was just somebody saying, well, we are in Calgary. It's a Western song. It fits the theme perfectly. It almost feels like a perfect Calgary song. And I'm sure that came up in the conversation of like, New Orleans or Boots Are Hearts. Well, we are in Calgary, so let's stick with that Western theme.
I like that.
Yeah, that is great. Steve, can you hear us? We cannot hear you. Okay, I'm gonna move on here question wise, or thought wise. You leave the show with Blow It High Dough. And for a lot of people, that's their first introduction to the band. And it's a big song. It fills a lot of space. When it's done, Paul has already alluded to the fact that, like he had the thought, this is the last time I'm going to see them live. I'm just curious if, coming into the arena rather, it was rowdy and hip, hip, hip. And, like we're here to party and celebrate. What is it like afterwards, leaving? Was it, well, I don't even know. Paul?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't well, it's all right. So I remember exactly after the show. Like I remember we stood in our seats for about as long as they would let us. I mean, as Steve said, it was also like, if anyone who's been to the Saddledome, we were on like the opposite side from where we needed to get to, and trying to get around the Saddledome in a crowd is a nightmare. So you might as well wait it out as long as you can. But we just sort of like were there and taking it in until security kind of told us that we had to leave. But it was like a combination of like, you're so happy that you got to see him again. But then I did feel like sort of a heaviness come on too, of like, whew, like that's it. Like that's the end of my live chapter with this band. I knew it then. Like I wasn't as ambitious as Spencer, and now hearing his story, I wish I would have been, to think that like I should try to go to other shows. We might have even talked about potentially doing Calgary too, but we were just kind of like, let's end it here. But there was like a celebration, a happiness, but then also a bit of a heaviness that kind of, it wasn't your usual. I think it would have been different leaving that show than any other hip show that I've ever gone to. It was not as drunk as rowdy. It was a little more like we'd just sort of been through an upbeat church service or something like that, where we were all kind of like worshiping for a little while, and now we're heading back out into the night. But it was you just had everyone. I think it expended so much emotion during the show.
Yeah, I bet. Spencer, similar experience coming out of the Saddledome?
Yeah, during the concert, I remember paying attention to every word that he sang, every little flub that he might have, or every missed, song that he might miss a little word on here or there. And there was only like 2 or 3 that night. And when you would see those, it would just make you feel like, man, this is such a precious moment, and things could go so wrong. I mean, he could get so lost in a song or in a concert, or forget so many things. I'm a giant fan, and I forget lyrics all the time, let alone having brain cancer. So walking out of that concert, I remember just a sense of disbelief of like, how could have they rocked so hard with all the things that they're going through? Like, to be able to put on a performance for that long and perform that many songs and only have a little flub here or there, a little miss, whatever it was also a sense of relief. Like, hey, we all got through that together and nothing went bad. And we came out of it with a sense of energy that was bigger than I've had at any other concert I've been to before.
Very communal, I think was the word Paul used. And similar vibe for you, Steve? Was it the Church of Gord that night, the Church of Hip?
The Church with the Hip. Can everyone hear? I've just had audio gremlins with me all night long. I thought I would trade out headphones, and that prompted 5 more minutes of gremlin. Anyway, and I mean, it was a bit different for me because I knew I had more shows coming up, so that wasn't goodbye for me. That was the first of what was then 4 shows that ended up being 5 shows on that tour. The way I described the show the next day was, once we got past the first 3 songs, really after Fiddler's Green, it was a great Tragically Hip concert with added heaviness, which for me wasn't as heavy as it would have been for Spencer and for Paul, simply because I had the rest of the tour still to come, and I had the Kingston ticket. But not to bring it back to cancer again, fucking cancer. But I said earlier that I saw the show with my friends Jay and Jen, and they were in the seats directly in front of me. And I have seen dozens and dozens of shows with these two over the years. And after it was done, Jay and I said goodbye. He was entertaining thoughts of coming down for Kingston. He didn't end up making it. That was the last time I saw him. And 2 years later, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and 4 months later, he passed away. And I will say that getting to spend those last 2 hours of our earthly relationship at a hip show was perfect. Perfect in an imperfect situation.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got that last show together. And he was a magnificent person. And he went to, I think he did all the Alberta shows on the last tour. So I'm so glad that he got to see those 4 shows.
Oh, yeah. So here we are.
Fuck cancer.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you. I lost my mother to cancer, and it's fucking terrible. But you know what? We're doing good things. There's an organization out of Calgary called GEDFest, and you should look it up, gedfest.ca. It's a national day on October 17th, or the Saturday closest to October 17th, where ideally at some point, I think there's 13 cities or 11 cities this year that are participating. Toronto will be doing it the first time. I'm organizing that one. And each of the cities does a tribute show, has a tribute band, silent auction, all sorts of cool stuff. And all the money raised goes to whatever chapter cancer charity chooses. Yeah.
Can I tell a really cool story, actually? So tying this back in, so to make a very long and very ridiculous story short, my friend Kevin, I should say, formed a team for the Ride to Conquer Cancer called the Tragically Clipped. And we rode together this year it was our 9th time riding together, my 11th time doing the ride over the years. We have raised as a team over $200,000 for the Alberta Cancer Foundation and the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation. And the name actually predated Gord's diagnosis. We were riding as the Tragically Clipped. I think he was riding as the Tragically Clipped 2 years prior. We just thought it was a great name. There's a cycling joke in there for those who get it. And it's turned into this really cool thing. And yeah, we've raised an awful lot of money. We met Gord's daughter one year doing the ride, which was also very neat. But yeah, if you're out and about on the Princess Margaret ride next year and you see the Tragically Clipped, track us down, come say hi. And yeah, we've had real fun with this one over the years. Anyways, continue.
No, that's a great story. And it's a great cause. So good work. 10 years later, it's August 1st, 2026 today. So 10 years ago, we know where you all were. Looking back at the experience, is there anything you would have done differently or done the same? Or is there anything that 10 years is giving you in terms of this show, Paul?
There's nothing I would have done different, for sure. Just it felt like such a perfect night. Like it's what you set expectations and you don't know if you'll be able to hit them. You don't know what the performance is going to be like. You hope that the seats you bought secondhand, the tickets actually work when you get in the door, all those little things. But no, I think the time has only really given me that, like, this show just solidified in my mind so strongly. Like, even looking at the set list today, and I was like shocked at how much I actually remembered so many of the songs, which I'll take as a sign that, like, I didn't spend too much time taking videos on my phone. I was like present enough to understand what was going on and take in the gravity of it and like really remember the moments. And like Spencer said, like remember that interlude. Like I remember that so well. I remember the countdown clock they put on before the show. Like it's going right down to the second when they were going to hit the stage. Like I talked about that World Container, like the song and the whole album. They're just things that like I remember, and I can't say that about every show I've ever gone to, or even the majority of the shows, that I would have this much of a solidified memory of it, which I think just shows that it was a show that going into it, we understood sort of like the gravity of what it would be, and then what it delivered was probably beyond expectation, what you could have hoped for from a band in that position and a man in that position. It just sort of gets more remarkable as the years go on that it even came to be like that, and that you were kind of lucky enough to be there and be a part of it, and ultimately smart enough to buy the tickets even when we weren't off the get-go.
Yeah, maybe that might be one change you would make. Maybe
Yeah,
you
even
would've
our
got 'em on
seats
the
ended
get-go.
up great though, because I've sat in a lot of places in the dome, and had we ended up in the 200s, you know, at the far back, like we would have been way further away from the stage than we ended up being behind the stage. It's something I've now noticed at a few different shows. I've seen, you know, Garth Brooks and Bruce Springsteen and a few others from behind the stage, and like their backs are to you, but you're so much closer to the band. So it actually, you know, my memories aren't of like what we saw on the video screen. They are actually of like the people on the stage. So even that I'll take as a good sign that like,
Yeah.
you know, we probably wouldn't have wanted to buy tickets behind the stage, but it made the most sense, and that worked out too.
Spencer, what's 10 years given you?
A lot of appreciation for that tour. We were sitting lower bowl, stage left, right by the mixing board, and where they had all the guitars lined up, so we could see all the guitars and the different straps that they had sitting all there. Can't complain about the seats we had. Can't complain about the people that I brought. So I wouldn't be doing anything different unless it involved going back in time. Then it would be investing in some good stock so that I could go to more shows on that tour. I wish I would have gone to every tour in Western Canada looking back, but obviously money probably would have been a stopper at the time. And yeah, I just appreciate the people that I went with and the fact I was able to see them. Just a deep appreciation for that.
Similar situations, Steve?
Spencer articulated the way I felt about that tour so well. It was just gratitude for the fact that we got the chance to do it. Every show that I was lucky enough to see that year was perfect. And getting the chance to be together in a room with people listening to that band was perfect. My only regret is that we won't get the chance to do it again. You know, I used to complain about, to Paul's point, I'm one of those pretentious assholes, and I used to get really hung up on Hip set lists, and I used to complain that they didn't mix things up enough. I would do anything right now to get the most basic paint by numbers Tragically Hip set list if it meant being able to see that band one more time. And just the memories from that summer are still indelible. It was a magical time to be a fan of that band, and that was a magical night in Calgary. And just, you know, apologies if this is going back over old territory. A moment of levity. That was the version of Grace 2. I'm 99% sure it's the version that's in the long time running documentary with Gord and the Jaws shirt, but also the sunglasses, where he had the fly glasses on and was crawling around the front of the stage. That's actually probably my best memory of that night, with all the somberness, was Gord doing this with the sunglasses during the intro to Grace 2 and with the Jaws shirt on. So it was this, you know, the sublime and the ridiculous, but what a night.
I want to say he pulled those from the crowd. I could have my notes mixed up. Yeah.
He did. It was someone in the front row handed them to him, and he put them on, and away he went.
And then I want to say he was doing a lot of miming that night, of course. I remember him riding a motorcycle, I want to say, with those glasses on, pretending, you know, going down. And then I remember him playing baseball and hitting, you know, dingers out.
Oh, man. What a time. And it's, it's great to get back together and reminisce. But boy, oh boy, I think you summed it up, Steve, when you said if we could even just to paint by numbers set list one more time.
Yeah, that was the big memory that I think so many of us have, was hearing those songs together and singing those songs together, and that was magic. It was magic.
Well, I think I'll leave it on that, folks. I owe you a great debt of gratitude for participating in this project. Spencer, Paul, Steve, big thank you for all that you did and all that you shared. I know sometimes it can be difficult because it was a joyous time, but it was heavy. And I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody in the chat for listening, and I want to thank anyone who's listening on the podcast. Come back in 2 days and we will talk about Calgary 2. That's August 3rd, 2026. Until then, pick up your shit.
Thanks for listening. This has been a presentation of the Tragically Hip podcast series. For more information and to follow us, visit home.tthpods.com. If you'd like to reach JD, send an email to jd@tthpods.com.